You know what? So when you walk into a bar, you get more than one drink. This is alive. You know what? This is what live is. Now you never know what the signal's going to do. So what do you do? Very similar to the pandemic. So not sure where we were or who caught us before, but we are fortunate to be spending in-person time with the Wilsons. And we are on the rooftop. Share their story. So if you don't mind.
I'm in. Groundhog
Good
Day.
times, baby.
It's for everybody. You know what? We'll be doing this next hour as well.
Quick recap. We met because you came and spoke at my office, Brown and Brown in Fort Lauderdale. And then I loved everything you had to say. Was very interested in Prosecco. He paid me in Prosecco.
These are actors, not real people.
And we ended up running into each other 2 weeks later for a Super Bowl event, the Jim Kelly event. And
That's the first time I met you.
yeah, correct. Yes. And very serendipitous. And
Well, the super takeaway, which we talked about before, but I want to bring up, is that you took the initiative to jump out and say, "Hey,
yes.
Steve,"
Yeah.
you know, that's the bridge that you take, whether it's in person or in virtual right now.
Correct.
It's got to make the first move. And you
Mhm.
made the first move, and you never know what happens. I could have been a schmuck and said,
What base are
"Who
we
are
on?
you?" and whatever. But you know what? It was great. It was great to meet you. We hung out for a while.
We had a
Next
great
thing you
time.
know, we're on the train back, and you know, good things have happened. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming tonight. The audience share who you are and what you do. You know,
Yeah.
so because they may not know that
Yeah, I'm Bill Wilson. I work for local government in South Florida. I think one of the things, and again, you know, just to relay what Molly had said, I think one of the things that's interesting about the pandemic, about some of the principles that you guys talk about is, you know, using the pandemic to connect with people. I also found it as the time to reconnect with a lot of people that a lot of times we have a huge network and we talk to maybe 5% of those folks. I think reaching out and going back into your network and reconnecting, you know, whether it was through a Zoom call or whether it was just over a quick, you know, LinkedIn message or a Facebook message or any of the other platforms. I think one of the biggest things is that we sometimes lose that in, we need to get together in person. We need to get together for lunch. We need to get together for coffee. If you can do it virtually, you could have 20 meetings instead of 2 meetings a day.
And virtual happy hours, which I was never really a fan of at the start of this. I saw it as a business tool.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that I've reached out to or have reached out to me and said, "Hey, at 5:30, you want to grab a cocktail?" And I go, "I'm not really going out." And they go,
I'm drinking at home with my
yeah.
wife.
And they go, "No. You can jump on. I jump on, we grab a cocktail.
Mhm.
And we're spreading out a little bit. We all have masks.
Yep.
We talked about some great stuff. Michelle, why don't you jump in and share a little bit about what the pandemic has done for you? You haven't spoken to the audience. You've sort of been quiet about it.
Well, that's because I've been super busy. Oddly enough, I don't think the pandemic has changed nothing for real estate in South Florida. The only thing it changed for me was that I didn't have my office was closed, so I didn't go into the office and sit at my desk, and I can do my work anywhere. And I closed my house virtually,
Which is
basically.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not an inexpensive house.
And
that people close without
Yeah.
ever being in.
And I closed I listed and closed another house in 30 days virtually. My sellers were here and the buyers were virtual. They were on FaceTime and they never stepped foot in the house, and it closed 30 days. What's going on in real estate right now in South Florida is crazy. It's busy. It's all over the place. We really do have to do virtual previews or regular previews, FaceTime showings. That's all real. It is not a joke. And it's fantastic.
So,
Nothing slowed down here.
So I'll point the question to everybody, which is what my role is here. So what did you learn about yourself during the pandemic? Like, this was a test. This is that Michael Jackson song, man in the mirror or woman in the mirror. This pressed everybody up against, okay, unprecedented, all on the same starting line. What did you learn about?
The good and the bad.
Yeah,
Good, bad, and the ugly. Good, bad, and the ugly.
Well,
There always is a yin and a yang.
there is. There always is. So really what came to mind first is just being able to pivot quickly, learning that I was able to adapt and not without, doubts or, a lot of the thinking, can I do this? How am I going to do this? What is going on?
What's the outcome going to be?
Oh, yeah, correct.
I think there was some doubt around anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, because they couldn't really visualize, all right, what's on the other end?
Correct.
No matter what we do.
But I think what I learned is that what I already knew, but maybe it emphasized or reinforced, is that I'm resilient and I was able to pivot and use tools that I've learned, not just from you, but from others in my life, other mentors. And I just kept pushing through. No matter what, I kept waking up every day, even if it was a day that I didn't feel as confident or didn't know what was happening or a little anxious because of what was going on. I just kept moving forward. I made sure that whatever I did, I moved forward.
I'd love for my audience to hear that. Mr. Wilson, you are in a unique position because not only do you have to take care of yourself, you're tasked, the government to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
And there were lots of naysayers, and everybody thinks they know what the right thing is to do.
Sure.
So what did you learn about yourself in all of this?
I think one of the things that you learn about yourself is the ability to really get information out and the ability to really move folks. I think that one of the things that we really did, and I'm not saying we did well. I think we were efficient at getting tasks done faster because we did it in a virtual environment. We had to put first responders out. We had to make sure that testing sites were put up. We had to make sure that aid was provided to folks that needed it and continue to need it. And I think that that's one of the best things that government has attempted and continued to work on, is that we were able to move a lot of things fast. And because we didn't need to all congregate in one place each time to make that decision, it actually helped us in terms of the speed. And again, I think it's one of those things where you don't want to pat yourself on the back because we're still in the middle of this. I think one of the things is we'll continue to improve. And as someone who manages folks, I think anyone who manages in this virtual environment, we can do things pretty quickly, and we can do it within a moment's notice.
I think that's probably, for me, I agree with you, the efficiency of what's possible in a virtual environment, where people are so used to the same pattern. You started with, let's have lunch. Well, my calendar, I'm not available for another month. Well, I have 15 minutes this afternoon. Let's do that. So the efficiency of what we're doing, the amount of ground you can cover. I think you hit it on the spot. Do you agree, my first lady? You've done some Facebook tours of houses, right? So,
Yeah, there's a lot of things, like even regardless of real estate, I think where's the fine line in sales during this pandemic time where you're still reaching out and being sensitive, because there are some companies that are still willing to spend money. There's some companies that are not. What is the sensitivity, line? What do you say? What's the introduction? What do you do? How do you still do business in the sales world during the pandemic?
yeah, and I
right?
think right from the get, one of the things I put out there that was the most attractive to people was a video that said, listen, I don't think it's a selling environment ever. It shouldn't be that way.
Well,
Just connecting with people without agenda is really what it's supposed to be about. That's how you scale your life, scale your
And I mean
business.
with that in mind.
No, I'm
And I
agreeing
mean
with
with
you.
that in mind,
I'm agreeing with you.
like with even making a connection, it's what happens in everybody's world? What kind of insurance do you sell?
I sell business insurance. And really, I don't like to use the term sell. I provide it.
Yes.
I consult. I
Yes.
advise on what's best. And it's been challenging. But with that comes opportunity as well. To your point, to kind of change the conversation to how are you doing? How is business? What has changed for you? Can I help you? You know, let's just have a conversation. More than anything, I just want to have some interaction with people,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're all really
And I
looking for
agree. I
that and
think-
connecting.
I think during this time, the people that were literally making connections and talking to people, what is actually going on in their business and what's really happening was more key than anything else. Because this is now an opportunity to actually learn and connect with somebody that you may have not been able to connect with before.
Well,
Correct.
I think it, from a sales perspective, I think it exposed that salesperson that is strictly interested in making a transaction while they're out in the cold now, because that's not going to fly in this environment.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't sense that you're genuinely interested in
Yeah,
them,
curious,
and,
yes.
curious. So, and the other thing is, we live in this whole connected world that people are really lonely. There's all of this connection, but then there's
Quality over
nothing.
quantity.
We were starved with, hey, we could do something virtual, but now it's starting to,
Yes.
be on the backside of it. We can be socially distant. Which
Yes.
we often make.
Mm-hmm.
All of the restaurants that we're at.
Well,
are
not
outdoors.
really. We're not really.
It's okay.
You know,
We've got our
somebody
masks.
yelled at us.
We have our masks.
He's
Don't
in
worry.
government. He can have a problem. So, what would you want to share with the audience? The premise of the show is something good. What's something good that you took away from this that wasn't happening before, that's happening now? Because it is something good. And I can point you in a specific place. You guys have a very loving relationship, but all of a sudden you're thrown into a pandemic and you're around each other much more than.
Sure.
Wait a minute.
That's kind of where my mind was actually going. So I'm glad you kind of led us into it. I'll let him tell his side of it, but I will say that to me was what was really nice, is that pre-pandemic, it was a lot of rushing around, and we were working and away from the house 10 or 12 hours, and then all of a sudden we were forced to completely slow down and be in the same house together all the time. And for us, it was wonderful. I got to listen to his conference calls and what he had going on and learn more about what his work and his work life was. Fascinating. And then vice versa. He was able to listen to me and really get to know what my day-to-day entailed, and it was pretty great. Sorry, set you up for that.
Yeah.
I set you up for that. Sorry.
I think that is one great takeaway and something good about the time that in the last few months, and then even moving forward. I think that one of the things that I was able to see is her day to day, and also a lot of times we have that conversation after work to say, hey, this is what happened to me today. But to have that conversation as it was going on, because you experienced it together,
Yeah,
it was, oh my gosh, this just happened. What do you think? And you could pivot or, by the way, sometimes reevaluate before you had the next conversation in order to, maybe, sharpen your skill, or even just say, hey, if you thought about this or that. And again, I think a lot of times those conversations happened after hours. It was happening real time.
After hours, when you're tired, when
And-
you're
and-
maybe
and-
not in the exact mood to
And
listen.
you don't,
Correct.
and you don't know the context. So the
Mhm.
fact that
Yeah.
you're actually hearing the context of the situation actually helps you
Yeah.
to make a better comment, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think, speaking personally, Jake was living with us, and you talked about his tell me something good.
Yeah.
He didn't really have any clue as what I did. He saw the benefits of what I did,
Mm-hmm.
but here he's, front and center watching, command what we're doing every day, and he was blown away about what the day-to-day is of the business. I never sat him down and said, let me detail everything I do. And he goes, wow, Dad, this was like so amazing for me. So whether it's, Michelle and I have always either worked together, or she has a keen sense of being an entrepreneur. But, for you, did you want to answer that question too? What did you learn about yourself that you take away there?
That I need my own office at home.
I think a lot of people, we are very similar to a lot of people, is that we never thought that we'd be working from home all day.
Yeah.
And so, just structurally, the way we set up our place, wasn't set up.
Yeah, so for me, like literally, Steve and I are a lot alike, and that's what a lot of people may not know is that we're very entrepreneurial. We're like, I don't need him to coach me, and he doesn't need me to coach him really necessarily. And so during this, it's like realizing that, I mean, my real estate was still going out. Real estate did not
blew
change.
my mind watching her have calls. And people say, "Hey, are you willing to go to the property and FaceTime a tour with me?" I was like, "What?"
Amazing.
So I was out
Yeah.
and about.
Right from the get, I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? Never missed a
The
beat.
only thing
I
that
love
changed
it.
for me was that my office was closed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the thing that changed with us was now his office was our dining room, and I had no place to call, like talk to people.
Mhm.
So I think really is that you know we're the same person, realizing that we loved our place where we live,
Mhm.
except that we needed more space in case of a situation.
Yeah.
That was really the only thing that changed for us, right?
True.
That
True.
we need a little bit of a separate space so we can have
I think
our
a
own
lot of
business going
people
on.
are a space issue, family members living with them. So we've had all kinds of technical issues today. I think my microphone is out. Is that right, Shay? So
You're
hopefully,
done, battery
hopefully
done.
you guys can still hear me.
Done.
Whatever. Closing words. This has been a great. Tell me something good.
Security.
This is why we don't do it live. We usually tape it, but hopefully you can see this great view.
Listen, you
We're
may have, this
about-
may be a 5-part series going on
We
right
are
now,
about
just so
to
you know.
shut it down, jump in the pool. Last words.
Happy Friday, and we're glad that you were able to join us. And this is our something good today,
It is.
hanging out
And
with
you
you
know what?
guys.
You did that just like the weather person trained you. Yeah, you did. Is this
Well, you know,
are we
Send in
real or
guys,
are we
partly
fake?
cloudy. There is no
Just
hurricane
for those
coming
of you
our
who don't know,
way.
she used to be weather in
for Florida State.
Florida
That's what I went to
State.
school for. So yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
she's in front of the
So
green screen
that-
for
And now I'm in
you.
Still, I
insurance.
don't remember.
Yes.
And you?
I was just say it's been great to be here with you guys in person, and I think again, you know, as we begin to emerge and do these things together, you know, whether it be direct interaction or indirect interaction with, you know, through virtual, I think we can continue building these relationships, and I think that's always.
Love it, love it, love it. Miss,
Amen.
my first lady,
Tell me something good.
tell me something good.
My son got engaged on
Yay!
Sunday. of
Cheers.
Salute.
Yeah.
Tried to talk about it.
He has been together as long as Steve and I have been together. Just saying, they met in college and they quarterback,
Fantastic.
cheerleader, classic story,
Story.
done.
Absolutely
Very exciting.
fantastic. So I'll bring us home that they hit on it, and I'll drive it home that the world is really built on relationships, and you can't have contracts without the R. What's the saying, Shay?
Relationships.
It's all about relationships. The R in contracts is all about relationships. So if you want more contracts, you got to focus on the R. So thank you for joining us. It's been great. We'll be back next week, taped, edited, and ready to deliver a great show. Hope it
5-part
worked for you
series coming.
guys. See you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Happy